to testify when the inquest into the death of anti-apartheid activist Neil Aggett continues in the High Court in Johannesburg this morning. Also expected to testify today is Keith Coleman, who was detained at the then John Vorster Square police station at the same time as Aggett. Aggett was found hanging in his cell. Before concluding his testimony on Friday, forensic pathologist Steve Naidu said it was very insensitive to conduct the post-mortem a couple of hours after Aggett died. This was before his family could even formally identify his body. All right, our reporter Hasina Gori is there this morning. Let's cross live to her. A very good morning to you, Hasina. Just give us a recap of last week.
Yes, there's a good morning. As you mentioned, quite an exciting day today expected, with two witnesses expected to take the stand. But last week we heard quite a few different accounts corroborating many of the reports of interrogation and abuse and assault that detainees underwent when they were in John Vorster. Many explaining and detailing how they were either tortured for hours, electrocuted, handcuffed in various different positions, as well as made to stand for hours. These were just some of the accounts we heard last week. The witness that we had was an expert witness, Dr. Steve, forensic pathologist, and he described some of the wounds and bruises that he said was found. He noticed from the notes of the autopsy that were found on Dr. Aggett's body. He said others were also older wounds that could have been blunt force trauma wounds. He said the hours before Aggett had passed on, he heard Friday he had written a formal complaint with the district sergeant detailing some of the abuse that he went through. He said that he was handcuffed, electrocuted, thrown against walls and a desk, and also deprived of sleep and made to exercise to the point of exhaustion. He also said that he was emasculated physically when they assaulted his manhood, but Dr. Naidu said injuries were unable to be seen in the autopsy because there were some discrepancies in the autopsy that was done. It was also done 2 hours after he had passed on. So this was just some of the accounts that we heard. We also heard last week from other detainees describing the last few days of Aggett's life, saying that he was the interrogation looked like it intensified, and that he was not in his cell for most of the weekend, that he was before he passed on, and that when they did see him, he looked dejected, he looked really tired, weary. One described how they saw a wound to his head. Others just said he looked very, very tired. These were all the similar accounts that we heard from all the witnesses that have taken the stand so far.
Very triggering accounts there. What can we expect today?
Today we're going to first hear from Keith Coleman, a political detainee who was detained and incarcerated in John Vorster alongside Aggett at about the same time. He will also detail some of the accounts of what he went through, as well as when he last saw Aggett and what his condition was like. We also will hear from Paul Erasmus, who is a former security branch police officer. This is an interesting witness that will take the stand, because this will be able to give us, I think, the first time account for us of the motive behind the interrogation that Aggett went through. That was his death premeditated? Was it a murder, or was it a cover-up after the interrogation was done so intensely that it left him to death?
All right, we'll await the proceedings to begin, and we'll try our best to go there live. Hasina Gori, thank you so much for that update.